What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with the overall market, what you should be watching for moving forward. I want to talk about some very important supports to be watching for on Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. And then break down some very important levels, which are going to be super, super important. But before I do anything like this, before I talk about what's going on with Tesla, the news that came out, and how the market is moving right now, and how Tesla's chart is looking, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm personally not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon. It's in just about 1 day, so it ends tomorrow. Don't forget to check it out before they run out. Anyways, now let's break down what's happening with the market and how things are looking so far. So looking at the charts, things are not looking that great for the bulls anymore, as the market has gone this very, very major sell-off after seeing these yields going to about 16-year highs, which is pretty insane. That is hinting in the direction of economic contraction coming. And once again, these market makers and other investors out there and many of the other ones out there working very, very hard to reposition, adjust their changes, and just do things like that. So with these new changes, with these adjustments being made, the market's getting dragged down and we're starting to see fear take over. And as the charts are looking more bearish, there's some other important things to remember. Not only are yields going up like crazy, but there is some bearish data that came out. So looking at the data, I just want to remind you all that we started to see the home price index a little bit hotter than expected. And consumer confidence right here, this was a little bit lower than expected. So consumers are losing confidence overall. This ended up dropping a bit. The overall fears about economic contraction have gone up, and new home sales are down. They're actually a little bit lower than expected. So once again, all of these things are just showing signs of contraction, more fear, and all these things are causing the market to slow down. So anyways, now I just want to talk about how the charts are looking. One thing about Tesla before I talk about them actually is Tesla is now going to likely drop the Powerwall 2 price ahead of the next gen launch, which is once again them trying to get rid of inventories. I'm calling this out because there is news that came out that Tesla was also cutting prices for some of their models, the Model 3, as they're trying to clear inventories. Tesla has been doing things like this, and there was a lot of news that came out in the morning with these analysts saying that Tesla is going to likely miss on earnings, their deliveries may be a miss, this and that, and they just kept on going on about their margins not being the best. So Tesla had some bearish news as well. That's part of why it's selling off. It also has to do with the overall market and so many different factors. So with that said, now let's talk about how things are looking on the chart. So zooming a little bit in on the 30 minutes time frame, this is looking more bearish. We're about to get a bearish cross in the PPO, and Tesla just barely started to really aggressively sell off during the past hour. On the 4 hour time frame, Tesla's looking kind of flat, but a little bit weaker than before, but very, very flat. So it's not as telling. We have this nice rejection off here, off the liquidity grab. So they basically grabbed liquidity before bringing Tesla down with the market. And this is all part of their overall positioning. The daily chart on Tesla is not looking as great. We actually have a weak candle as of right now. We'll have to see how we close for now, depending on how aggressively we sell off. So these are some very important levels to watch for, at least for the time being. But how is Tesla looking? I'm going to go to the 5 minute time frame. We just started selling off more aggressively. Tesla's starting to sell off. We just broke below 444, which is the level we were holding for the majority of the day. So now that Tesla broke this level, we're going to be watching this support. The next critical support is going to be around 242.5 if we break below 243.5. So it's very tight today. And then if that breaks, if 242 breaks, we're going to be watching 240, then 238 on Tesla, right? Those are going to be some very important levels. Make sure you watch all of them very carefully, as Tesla is still, once again, slowing down thanks to the market. And the market is still, once again, on a very, very strong downtrend. So looking at how the market is moving, looking at this very aggressive selling that we are seeing, this is going to likely continue to drag Tesla down as time goes on. So looking at Tesla, I mean, I'd be very careful when trying to trade this. Just know that you'd want to look for really good entries for any particular kind of position. And as the market's selling off aggressively, there is likely going to be even more downside. So watch that 242.5 area if we break below this low. And then 240, we're likely going to get very close to 240 if that breaks, not to mention 238 if we continue to sell off very aggressively. 244 is acting as resistance, so watch that range. And we're still looking more bearish based off technicals for the time being. On SPY, with the yields going to their 16-year highs and the dollar pumping, this is continuing to look weak. You can see it's just trying to balance, but it's just failing again. It's looking very, very weak. So on the 30 minutes time frame, I like to look at the 30 minutes quite often. This looks bearish, just straight up selling. On the 4-hour time frame, this is also looking bearish. We just got a bearish cross in the PPO and we're continuing to sell off. We're going to be watching 426, 425.8, 425 flats. Then we have 424.5. And if we break below that, we're going to be seeing 422.5 and then 420 below that. I think if we get below the 425 area, there's a good chance we're going to get very close to like 420 soon. So there is likely going to be more downside. We are looking weak, and it's very important to just be honest when it comes to the way the charts are looking. Now, I personally was not expecting to sell off this hard after the news that came out on these yields and all the fear that's being incited. But sometimes unexpected things could happen, and we just always want to be prepared. So in my morning video, I told you all that if we broke particular supports, we could still turn bearish. If we broke resistance, we could have turned bullish. The supports broke, and that was your signal that we're going to likely see a sell-off. So now that ended up happening, the market's still looking weak. So watch these supports very carefully on SPY. Something else that's very important is when you look at Apple stock, this has a very, very clear head and shoulders. When I zoom out, you can see it a little clearly way back here. What's important about this is we had this left shoulder like pattern right here. We have this head and then we have the right shoulder. The bottom is around 171.7 and Apple's currently at 172.4. So there is a risk if we break below 172.4, this thing could come all the way down to 172. If that fails us, I'm going to be watching 171.7. And if that drags that low, that's going to drag the market down with it. So make sure you're prepared for that in case Apple gets that sell-off. Be very, very careful. That could be very aggressive, especially for the QQQ. For the triple Q, this is looking, in my opinion, a little bit more bearish on the 4-hour time frame. It's looking weak so far. There's no sign of a true bounce. We have a bullish divergence trying to develop, but as of right now, there's no sign of a bounce, so it doesn't make sense to be calling for a bounce yet. On the 30 minutes time frame, we're still downtrending. We're still looking weak. The 5 minutes looking weak as well. I mean, I think we're trying to base right here, but once again, guys, just be careful. Give it time. Don't just immediately jump on it as soon as you see it trying to push up again, because there's so many fake outs, so many wicks today. So be very careful. Anyways, for the QQQ, we have resistance at 355. If we break that 356.26 is going to be resistance. Then we have 357 flat. For support, we have 354 flat. If that fails us, I could see 352.5, 350, then all the way down to 347. That's going to be the next level below that. There's more potential for downside than upside as of right now. It's looking very weak. And we're going to be watching the support right now at this 354 level. We're going to be seeing if this could hold or not on the QQQ. So watch it very carefully. We are looking weaker, so please be prepared and do what you have to do. For Nvidia stock, this is also looking weaker. We made an attempt to bounce. I was talking about this thing hitting 430. We actually hit 428, came just short of that. And then what happened was this ended up being a nice liquidity grab before they dragged it back down. And this overall is just barely holding support at 420. If that fails, us 417, 415, 411 are on the table. Now, Nvidia has a little bit more strength than the market, but I just want to warn you, things could change on a dime with this stock. So be very careful at 420. If it loses that, there could be more potential for downside, especially testing this low of the day. All right, so be careful with Nvidia. I also want to mention that the VIX had a triple bearish divergence, but it hasn't ended up playing out just yet. Typically, they end up playing out quickly, but we're actually not ready yet because the VIX is continuing to break out, it's continuing to push, and that's despite the fact that we're continuing to develop these divergences. So it's looking more like a quadruple bearish divergence for now, but there's no sign of us basically breaking down just yet. There's no sign of the market bouncing truly just yet. I wouldn't truly say it's ready for a big bounce yet. For that reason, we're just going to be watching the VIX and see how it reacts to about this 19 level. It's getting very close to it. That's going to be a very, very key level, so watch that very carefully. And the VIX is not signaling some kind of rejection just yet. We're not seeing it yet. It could take a little bit longer than before. Finally, the dollar, it's continuing to climb. If you look at the dollar, it's continuing to break out. We do have this triple bearish divergence developing on it. It's actually not like a triple bearish divergence. It's about to become one, but that doesn't mean anything because we can still pump for a little bit longer and then maintain this divergence. Then eventually the dollar is going to sell off as the market bounces, but it could take another week, a few weeks. It could take a little bit longer than expected. So that's why I'm not really going to call the dollar dropping yet. As of right now, the dollar looks more bullish, and the dollar looks like it could help drag the market down a little bit more and keep the market weak. So watch the dollar carefully. Just know right now it's looking relatively strong, testing this high right here, and it could be establishing a divergence, but there's no sign of it playing out yet. That's why you want to be open-minded. All right, so for SPY, looking back at it, this thing is looking weak. Going to be watching this 426 supports, especially near the end of the day when we start to see more aggressive selling typically. So be very careful. Same thing with Tesla. Watch this, especially on the PPO on the 30 minutes time frame. And with that said, guys, watch support. Know that Tesla is a little bit better than the market, has some strength. It's not selling off as aggressively, but overall, it's still being dragged down as the market sells off. So you just want to watch it carefully. You want to be watching SPY on the side and just be open minded to anything that could end up playing out. All right. So thank you for listening. Have a great day. Do what you have to do, guys. And I'll see you guys in the next video in the afternoon. Thank you so much. Have a good one. And I'll see you guys very soon. Thank you and peace out.